Hey everyone, so today is the long-awaited day. It's chili oil time. Hey everyone, it's Kaitlin from The Walks of Life, and today I'm going to show you how to make our chili oil recipe. This chili oil has consistently been in our top 3 posts on thewalksoflife.com, which is really saying something because we've got over 1,000 recipes and we published this bad boy back in 2015. We're going to answer all of your questions. Technically, they've already been answered in the extensive comment section, but we're going to show you firsthand. I'm going to go through what goes in it, the basic steps, infuse the oil, pour hot oil over chili flakes. The whole thing sizzles up into this red, glorious bowl, and then you store it in jars, and then you've got a little taste of happiness, spicy, spicy happiness for your everyday use. Let's take a walk down memory lane of what chili oil looked like and meant to people in 2015. Even being Chinese, we didn't really have chili oil that often. We weren't really exposed to it. We didn't know that much about it. We had really grown up eating like Rooster chili garlic sauce, sriracha, now really popular, but not the same as chili oil. We discovered the glories of chili oil really in China during our time in Beijing, going to noodle houses, Lanzhou noodle houses, where there was always a giant bowl of bright red chili oil that they would ladle into your bowl of noodles, and it was truly a transformative experience. I mean, the flavor was like nothing that we had ever had. We also grew up eating this, which is lao ganma. So this is her black bean chili sauce, but the brand's chili crisp is probably the most famous, and both honestly helped really popularize chili oil in America. And now there's so many different chili oils on the market, and it's kind of become a go-to ingredient, kind of like sriracha or ketchup or mayonnaise even, which obviously is super exciting. Chili oil, chili crisp, both have become a phenomenon, a global phenomenon. I mean, back in 2015 when we posted this recipe, even we didn't anticipate the sort of wave of love for chili oil that would spread across the world. I mean, people are putting chili oil on everything. I mean, when we posted this recipe, we were putting it on everything, but we were putting it on noodles and rice and in our noodle soups and dipping our scallion pancakes in it. But people are putting it on ice cream. People are putting it in their mac and cheese. People are putting it everywhere. So if you rewind before all of that, before chili oil became a mainstream item that you could pick up at any grocery store pretty much in America, if you were to search chili oil, the result that would come up was Giada De Laurentiis' chili oil, which had 2 ingredients, olive oil and dried crushed red pepper flakes, i.e. Italian pepper flakes. It was a very basic recipe, but it was #1. As our chili oil recipe got more popular, I would always periodically check back and see how close we were to getting the #1 spot. If people were still kind of defaulting to the Italian chili oil or if people were defaulting to Chinese chili oil. And let me just say that the day that our chili oil recipe was #1 was a very proud day indeed. We love Giada De Laurentiis, don't get us wrong, but the fact that Chinese chili oil was being recognized in such a big way was a huge deal for us, and we're very proud of this chili oil recipe, and I'm excited to show you how to make it today. Definitely, I would say the #1 question that we get is around what chili flakes do I use? We're always gonna recommend using a Chinese chili flakes. So the best chili oil in China comes from the Sichuan province. So that's the province that's known for all of your favorite spicy Chinese dishes. So Mapo tofu comes from Sichuan. They are definitely the kings and queens of chili flakes. We really like this one from the Mala Market, which is a US-based company that sources really amazing toasted, super fragrant chili flakes. And this one that we have here is a mix of ground facing heaven chilies, Arjing Tao chilies, and Xiaomi La chilies. And then it's toasted in a little bit of rapeseed oil. That's a really good candidate. But you can also find basic dried chili flakes from any Chinese grocery store. These are perfectly good. This was what we used before Mala Market even existed, and solid choice, gonna be a bit more inexpensive as well. Another question that we often get is, can I use Korean chili flakes, Korean gochugaru? You could, but it's not gonna be the same result. It'll be probably more mild and sweeter tasting. Korean chili flakes are spicy, but they don't have the same flavor profile as the Chinese ones. So I've had people make it with their Korean chili flakes and they're perfectly happy with the results. But this is much better for making things like sundubu and kimchi. Now, the other question that we've started to get is from enterprising individuals who have grown their own chili peppers in their garden, dry them, and then say, hey, can I make chili oil with this? The answer is, if you have the means and the ability and the space and the wherewithal, be my guest. But it is best if you are growing one of those Chinese strains of chili peppers. That's gonna lead to the best result. My mom actually made a batch of chili oil where she did that. She roasted her own dried chili peppers, she ground them up, and she made a chili oil. It's spicy. It's very, very spicy. And I think that's why we love this Mala Market blend so much, because it has spice, it has heat, but it is more mild in the grand scheme of things. On a similar vein, some people will say, I want it more spicy. I want to melt my face off. What do I do? If you want to do that, the way personally that I think is you either dry a hotter pepper that you know is going to be super hot and then add it to your chili flake mixture yourself, or you can take Thai bird's eye chilies, which are a fresh chili, cut them up, put them in your oil infusion, let them sizzle, and then remove them along with everything else. And that's going to give you a major head start on your spice. Pour it over the chili flakes. Hopefully it melts your face off to a desired effect. That's kind of the lay of the land on your chili flakes. Okay, so let's talk about what spices and aromatics we use. Some easy ones that are pretty accessible are bay leaves and a cinnamon stick. We use this cassia cinnamon. You'll know it because it's woodier and bigger than regular cinnamon sticks, but either one will work. We also call for star anise pods. If you're not a big fan of the flavor of star anise, you can omit it. We're also today using sand ginger, which is a really unique Chinese ingredient. As soon as you'll taste it, you can recognize the flavor. It really adds a great depth of flavor to this chili oil. Again, nice to have, not a must-have. Similar are these white cardamom pods. They add really nice flavor. If you can't find these, don't substitute green cardamom pods, just omit. Same goes for these Chinese black cardamom pods. These add a ton of fantastic flavor. You can put them in the oil just like this, or you can actually crush them with your knife and release even more flavor. There's also regular old cloves. We have garlic and shallots. The last and arguably most important ingredient is Sichuan peppercorns. These are the red varieties. If you only have green, that's okay, but the green tastes a little bit more verdant. The red is really the flavor that you're looking for, but again, either one will give you that signature kind of numbing, exciting Sichuan chili oil flavor, so don't be too concerned. One important note that I do want to point out around the Sichuan peppercorns is that these peppercorns are actually the husk. So sometimes you might see that there are some dark black seeds here. You're going to want to take a little bit of time just to pick those out. The higher quality Sichuan peppercorns shouldn't have them, or they should at least have less. So those have a tendency to turn bitter when cooked. So it's very important that you're just using the husk. So keep an eye out for that when you're at your Chinese grocery store. The other cardinal rule of chili oil is the more spices and aromatics that you use to infuse the oil, the more flavor you're gonna have. That is to say, not everything is strictly necessary, and you can make a perfectly great chili oil with just sort of a bare bones approach to the spices, but it isn't going to have quite as much or as rich a depth of flavor as if you use more. So, you know, whatever you have access to, whatever you can find, you kind of can just honestly cherry pick the spices that you need. In our recipe on the website, we have some essentials and then some nice to have, so you can use that as a guide. We use a very, very low heat to infuse the oil, and then the longer you infuse the oil for, up to an hour is usually good, and the spices should be a few shades darker by the time you're done, but not burned. You want them a few shades darker, but not black. Then that's kind of when you know that you've maxed out your spices. Now, some people say, it seems like a shame to throw those spices away. Can I reuse them? Not really. They're pretty well used, and you can rest easy knowing that they've done their job and you've maximized their flavor. So let's talk about oil. So most of our Chinese cooking, we actually use avocado oil. We think it's just a really great neutral tasting oil, stands up to the heat of the wok, high smoke point oil, great all around option. So for this chili oil, you can use vegetable oil, you can use canola oil. A popular option in Sichuan province in China is actually rapeseed oil. So that's actually it is a canola oil, but it's a less refined canola oil, and it has a really delicious kind of signature flavor. And if you've ever been to China and had a super deeply fragrant chili oil that just kind of had like an implaceable flavor, they probably used rapeseed oil. You actually can buy it at the Mala market. They import a really nice one. But, you know, avocado oil, light olive oil even is fine. If you're using light olive oil, it does have a tendency to set in the fridge, so just keep that in mind. It can be a little inconvenient, but if that's all you have, shouldn't stop you. So we're finally ready to get started, and we're gonna start by infusing our oil. So I'm gonna grab a pot. So the first thing that we're gonna do is prepare our shallots and garlic. So I have 2 shallots here and 3 garlic cloves, and I'm just gonna peel them, and for the shallots, I'm gonna cut them in half, and the garlic cloves, I'm gonna crush them. While I do that, I'll just share that some people over the years have voiced concerns around food safety when you introduce a fresh ingredient into an anaerobic environment, i.e. oil, where there's no oxygen. There's an increased risk of bacteria growth. That's why when you're infusing the oil, it is important to kind of open up these shallots and make it easier for all the moisture to cook out of them. There's gonna be a little bit of foaming you'll see in the pan. That's no big deal, totally normal. It just means that the water is coming out of the shallots and the garlic, and that's actually what you want to happen. That's why we always recommend storing the chili oil in the fridge and always using a clean spoon to reach into it no matter what you're doing. Okay, so that's it. That's my fresh ingredients prepped. And now it's just as easy as dumping everything into a medium-sized pot. Okay, so I'm adding my cinnamon and my bay leaves, my star anise, my white cardamom pods, and my sand ginger, and my black cardamom. And again, don't substitute green cardamom. It's not the same. It won't taste right. Cloves, Sichuan peppercorns, and the shallot and the garlic. So you'll see in the recipe post that I have the must-haves and then I have the nice-to-haves. So if you're using everything, that means that you've kind of just won the lottery of you can use as much as 3 cups of oil. This will infuse as much as 3 cups of oil. Then you add 1 1/4 cups of Sichuan chili flakes, and then you have 3 cups of chili oil that you can use, share, batch out. If you have fewer aromatics or you just want a really concentrated flavor and you don't want to have that much chili oil on hand, you use 1 1/2 cups of oil and 3/4 cups of chili flakes. So Sarah needs a refill on her chili oil. I do too, so I'm gonna make the bigger batch. Again, it's a pretty functional choice. It's not like it's, you know, gonna be make or break. Ethan's too young for chili oil, but he knows that there's reason for excitement. And the last cup. I'm gonna use my spoonula to get every last bit of oil. It's definitely our favorite kitchen tool. Makes a great hostess gift if you're looking for something like that this holiday season. And like I said, this is a great DIY gift. I mean, if somebody gave me a batch of even my own chili oil, I'd be like, that's amazing, thank you. So now this is gonna go on the stove for about an hour, and we're gonna heat it such that there's just tiny minuscule bubbles rising up and around the spices, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. Okay, so the oil is heating, and you can see that there are very small bubbles. And the fresh ingredients are gonna sizzle the most, but even those are really not sizzling that hard. So right now I have the heat set to medium. It's a little bit closer to medium low. As the oil heats up more, I might reduce it to medium low. So this is really ideal. This is what you're looking for, and you're gonna wanna just monitor the heat and lower it if necessary. And we're gonna put the timer on for an hour and come back to you. This is what the oil looks like after 30 minutes, and because we've got another 30 minutes to go, I reduced the heat all the way to the lowest setting, just because everything is getting a bit dark and I really want to make sure that things aren't burning. There is still some moisture coming out of some of the shallots and the garlic pieces. If the garlic gets darker, it is a good idea to fish it out or flip it to make sure it gets evenly browned all around and you're really extracting all that flavor. But after a certain point, it can make the oil bitter. So I'm gonna keep an eye on these and think about taking them out before the rest of the spices are fully infused. So that's our midway update. We do have this chili oil recipe in our cookbook, and it's a really great one because you can really see how in the other recipes in the book we use chili oil not just as a condiment but as a cooking ingredient. So that's really important because there's so many chili crisps out there that you can buy pre-made, and they're delicious and they're salty, and if you put them in a bowl of fried rice or a bowl of noodles, they're gonna be instantly amazing. But sometimes for a lot of Chinese dishes, you actually wanna have an unseasoned chili oil that you can use like a quarter cup at a time. And that is something that is gonna really open up the different dishes that you can make. So you can find it in our cookbook, you can find it on our blog. We find that people really like having the chili oil recipe in the cookbook. They just like having all their favorite recipes in one place, so check it out. So it's been an hour, my oil is still on the stove, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. But first we're gonna measure out our chili flakes. I just have 2 bowls here because honestly, I can't find a bigger bowl that I like. And 1 batch is for me and 1 batch is for Sarah. Very important that your bowl is heat proof. So these are very old Chinese ceramic bowls, so we're confident that they are sturdy. You can also use a Pyrex bowl. Just don't use any sort of like unmarked glass bowl in particular, because that can and will shatter. So obviously really dangerous to have glass shattering and hot oil going everywhere. We need 3/4 cups of these chili flakes per bowl, and I'm not being overly careful. As you can see, it's not really, doesn't have to be so precise. So that's 3/4 cups. I'm gonna do the same over here. We really do prefer these Mala Market chilies. They're really great. It's run by a woman named Taylor, and she actually has a adopted daughter from China, and they run the business together. So it's a 1/2 cup rather, and then we got 3/4 cup. Now I'm ready to bring my oil up to temperature. By far, we get the biggest variety and volume of questions on oil temperature. So obviously when you're pouring the oil over the chili flakes, you want that oil to be nice and hot. So hot that it's gonna kind of zap the chili flakes, make them sizzle up and bring out the flavor, and then you'll get that kind of popcorny smell and that toasted fragrance. And that's gonna make sure that your chili oil tastes phenomenal, even when it's cold out of the fridge. When we first posted this recipe, I had a set temperature that I gave people, and then of course, in the trials and errors of people in their kitchens, some people had thermometers, some people didn't have thermometers, some people bought their chili flakes from here or over there, or were using different kinds. That ended up being something that we've tweaked over the years to provide more guidance on. And in a nutshell, what I've deduced over the years is that really what you should be looking for are smells, sights, and sounds. You want to hear the sizzle of the chili flake, you want to see that bright red color come out, you don't want it to be too dark, and you want to make sure you can smell that popcorny aroma. So when we give a range for oil temperatures, that means that we're assuming that you have a thermometer. For what it's worth, this is our favorite food thermometer. It's called a Thermapen. We'll include the product link. It's really accurate. It's got this nice probe that you can stick into meat, bread, cakes, oil, candy, etc. But you don't strictly need a thermometer to make this recipe. Like I said, use your senses and you'll be okay. So we've got the heat on medium because we're wanting to bring it up to temperature now to pour over the chili flakes. And last I checked, it was hovering around 250. That might be the right temperature if you're working with a drier chili flake, but because we've got these sort of pre-toasted, more oily chili flakes from Mala Market, we do need the heat up a bit, just because I find that they have a higher moisture content. They're quite bright red and they don't look as sort of ashy and dry as some other store-bought brands that I've used. So like I said, the main thing is always to use your senses and your judgment rather than to go blindly. And I know that that might be frustrating to hear, but it is sort of the best way to get reliable results every time. So there are just some pieces here that are kind of not worth agonizing over, so I probably will pour this through the sieve into the chili oil bowl. Another question that I get is people wanting to put extra spices into the actual chili oil. Maybe they want more Sichuan peppercorn flavor. That is something you can do. You can put powdered Sichuan peppercorn into the chili oil after, well, before or after, I guess, you pour the oil over. That's fine. Okay, so I'm checking the temperature now with our little thermometer, and it's 300. We want it to be at least 325 or 350. I would say if you don't like your chili oil as toasted, 300 would probably be fine. And a tip from my dad is that you do want to periodically stir the oil because there can be sort of irregular hot spots and you might not get as accurate of a reading. So my oil is at 350, 360, and I'm just gonna very carefully and intentionally pour it now. So that is exactly what you wanna see. I mean, wow. I wish that you guys could smell this right now, and if you're one of those people who's afraid of bubbles, I'm so sorry because there's so many bubbles, but just give it a stir at this point. And it is stunning. I would say that's perfect execution right there. Okay, so Sarah is gonna pour the second bowl. We had a little bit of dilly-dallying over our lights, so this one has a lesser sizzle. So you can see how important it is to move pretty quick when you've heated the oil and you're ready to pour it over the chili flakes. Okay, good. Give it a stir. And the lower the temperature, the brighter red it'll be. The higher the temperature, the more you're gonna toast those chili flakes and the darker they'll be. So if you really like a bright red chili oil like this, you might wanna have a little bit more restraint on your oil temperature. If you like it darker and roasted, this was 350, 355 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's got that really deep red color. Definitely not burned. This is by no means burned. I want to be clear to that with everybody. This is pretty great. Let's say you've poured the chili oil over the flakes and you're really not happy with the flavor. You feel like you really missed the boat on the sizzling aspect. If you want, you can technically put it in a pot and heat it up until it gets a bit sizzly, but that's a very delicate process. You're not gonna wanna walk away from the stove doing that because it could very quickly and easily burn. In that case, I would say probably better luck next time and it'll just be a more mild chili oil, but you know, it's up to you. You can definitely tinker. At this point is a good time to add salt. So we call for, I think, like a half teaspoon or a teaspoon of salt, but just do it to taste. When you're stirring up the jar after it's been sitting in the refrigerator for a long time, you're just gonna wanna stir up the flakes and the salt to distribute it because it has a tendency to settle. So of course we had to put some of our chili oil on dumplings and I'll just give it a try and, you know, quality control, see how it turned out. It's spicy. It just adds a whole other dimension of flavor. It's toasty, it's fragrant. It's like bringing out the flavor of the aromatics that are in the dumplings. It's really delicious.
Easy with the chewing, it's gonna be on.
I know, I'm trying to chew.
We both need to learn how to take smaller bites on camera. You just.
I was just like, I probably should have taken a daintier bite, like. Anyway, it's totally delicious. Really, I mean, every time I make a batch of this, I'm just like, wow, amazing. And so many people love it and have made it a part of their go-to pantry, and I hope you do too. For the when I say chili oil, it's like cholo.
And then you can make it play annoying.
But then they'll hack you and ask you for Bitcoin money. Does my hair look okay? Does it look better like this? Or like this? The other way?
No, actually not.